Insight, the stripped back podcast with Stephen Buckley and Keith Delahan. It's all about the what, the how, and the why people do what they do for a living. Get first-hand knowledge and life stories from the new generation and the seasoned professionals through unfiltered chat and guest interviews, now on Insight, the stripped back podcast.
Welcome to Season 3, Episode 6. I'm Stephen Buckley.
And I'm Keith Delahan.
And this is Insight, the stripped back podcast, sponsored by Robust Lighting.
And later on this episode, we'll have Suzy Blakeley, aka Princess Spark, for our guest interview segment.
But before that, let's get into this episode's installment of The Overload.
The Overload segment. Now on Insight, the stripped back podcast.
Keith, how's it going? Another episode and another installment of The Overload. How's your week been?
Yeah, the week's been busy. It's great to be back on. You know, this is my little getaway from work. So, yeah, been really busy this week and up most evenings and most nights till probably after 12. So, probably leads on well into what we're going to talk about on this week's installment.
Yeah, well, like you mentioned there, this week we're gonna talk about burnout and how it can affect tradespeople in different ways and how it can manifest itself. And you know, like what you said there, you know, you have the pressures of work, you've got pressures of projects at home as well, and on my end of it, you've got I was away on the weekend and it was a bit of a refresh, and it sort of opened up my eyes to being able to step back from some of the hectic work that goes on in your life and being able to get the reset that you need in order to not completely burn out.
Yeah, just from talking to, you know, some of the lads around the local area, local, you know, electrical contractors in particular, I think burnout has become kind of, you know, accepted or a daily occurrence with most people running their own business, and even people not running their own business. People's lives have just become quite hectic, and I think it's a critical issue now affecting professionals in the electrical trade.
Yeah, I think it's critical is a great word for it. Chronic could be another word that people are using as well, and I definitely use, because I think you know, the amount of effort that business owners like yourself are putting into, you know, keeping their businesses running, they can definitely sort of neglect themselves in regards to the signs of burnout. And the likes of your wife, or even my wife, like, can see it a lot earlier than we can see it. You know, like, they'll start to see maybe, you know, a bit of you know, nagginess or, you know, short tempers or something like that when you come home. And they're, you know, physical signs as well, that you can, you know, bags under your eyes, or, you know, you start to get a flu or a cough or headaches, or even extra strains and aches and stuff like that, like where you overlook them and you keep pushing yourself, and then eventually, you know, it'll become a point where your body will just give up on you.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I suppose the main thing with burnout is kind of trying to figure out where it manifests from. Like in terms of myself and running a business, like, people will say to me, look, you need to work a bit more on your work-life balance rather than being working the whole time. But as a lot of business owners will know, in the first couple of years, the life part of the work-life balance just kind of takes a back step for the first couple of years. So, like, in terms of people saying to you, maybe, look, you need to take a bit more time for yourself, or you need to not work so hard, it really is easier said than done when you've got different contracts that you're kind of trying to keep going or establish yourself with, you know, build a rapport and build the relationship between you and the contracts that you've just got. you kind of need to bow to them for the first little while. And, you know, if they need you somewhere, you kind of have to be there. Or if they've got, you know, a schedule for you that you've kind of promised to fulfill, you kind of have to fulfill them for the first while, because you have to remember there is a lot of electrical contractors out there and other businesses looking to take your place. So in the first couple of years, I think you do, and I'm finding it out the hard way myself. So you really do have to, you know, put in the hard hours in the first bit. So we did have a couple of guests on, and we were talking about work-life balance, and you could kind of feel it from them that the work-life balance just isn't quite there yet with them. And that it is a problem. But look, if you're willing to persist, hopefully it'll get better, you know, with time.
Yeah, and I think it's a thing that you might remember as well, Keith. Starting out like as a business owner, there's passion involved, you know, and energy that comes with it, and you know the excitement of being able to get your business up and running, and wondering where it's going to take you, and you know take your family life, and you know your business expectations then just come along with that. And you know the opportunities that sort of land in front of you are very hard, like you said, to turn down. And I think you know with the high demands and the constant pressure as well, you know things can take a turn fairly quickly, and it's not long until you know that excitement and passion turns into you know a draining feeling, you know, and exhaustion. It's very tough, not just like I said before on the physical health, but the mental health as well.
Yeah, well, like looking in I suppose from the aspect of the electrical trade, the symptoms can be quite, you know, acute. You can notice it, like, you know, when you have the long hours, the physical demanding work, and the constant pressure to, like we said, meet the deadlines. It all contributes to nearly a state of chronic stress, nearly, rather than you know, burnout, or what they like to call burnout. But yeah, like you can see it in me sometimes, you know what I mean? Like I am a go-getter. I can work for days and I'd be fine. But it's when you get like the outside, you know, interferences, if you want to call that. Like, so, you know, maybe a builder trying to get too much out of you, or, you know, maybe a client trying to get too much out of you, and you kind of bound to what they want you to do. That can become quite stressful as well, because you probably have a schedule in mind and you're trying to stick to that schedule, trying to get yourself home at a decent hour, and then it could be just upended within the space of a 2 minute phone call. Where because we deal with a, you know, a range of clients where some of them own restaurants, some of them own you know, pubs, and then obviously we got the building side of it as well. But if the restaurant goes down or the pub goes down at the weekend, you're the first name on the call sheet, and you kind of have to go, because could be thousands in revenue loss for that client. And once you don't respond, you know, it's the next name on the sheet is going to get the call the next time, you know.
Yeah, I've seen it firsthand as well, and I've heard of it firsthand as well with a couple of lads that I've worked with before, where they've opened up to me and they've spoke about, you know, moments where you'd wake up in the bed in the morning and you physically can't get out of the bed just through exhaustion, and that exhaustion then, you know, turns to depression as well. And you know burnout in a sense like can be fairly physical, but like I mentioned, if you're waking up in the morning and you don't have the energy to get up and start your day, and go out and you know have the passion to be able to, you know, like you said, be a go-getter and you know experience life in a sense, like you know you're nearly giving up in a sense to not want to actually physically step out of the house. I think it's at that point you've reached a point of no comeback, you know, and you have to be able to, you know, reach out to, you know, certain maybe professionals, or, you know, somebody who can offer you some good advice about how to either relieve that stress or to be able to look out for it going forward, so that you can notice it quicker before it gets too bad.
Yeah, and some people manage it in different ways. Like, so, um, I know myself, when I'm, you know, at this the end of my cycle of burnout. Like I do become a zombie, and it definitely does affect people around you, because you're just so focused on the work and there's nothing else entering your brain. You're not prioritizing the people that you probably should be, which I find it difficult to, get into my head sometimes, and I need to be kind of reset every now and again. I need to be told, and that's where, getting help, or, people that are close to you will tell you, look what you're doing to yourself. Like you're actually, like, you're so past the point of, you know, what would you call
Return.
it? Yeah, point of return. You're in a different headspace altogether, like, and you're just solely thinking on that part of your life and not everything else, or not the things you should be thinking of. Look, we're trying to manage it, and trying to set a few boundaries. And, I suppose one thing you really need to prioritize is your rest and your recovery from, a hectic week. So, for instance, your weekend would be the perfect time to do that. Try your best not to work on a Saturday, and, and have your Sunday completely free, and spend it with family as well. So that'll be one. And then, like we were speaking about during the week, setting boundaries with clients and customers if you can. Like we said, it's hard in the first couple of years, because you kind of have to, you have to jump through the hoops to get yourself established. But we were saying about, clients ringing you out of hours and customers ringing you out of hours. It's not a healthy thing. So trying to put the phone down in the evenings would be perfect if you could get that situation going for yourself. And then obviously the physical exercise, just to be able to get that release, and bit of physical a bit of physical training. As you know, like, if you're in the workplace and you're in the van all day, you could potentially be driving around and, eating, not burning off a lot of calories. And then obviously for the mental headspace as well, the feeling that you accomplished something other than going to work.
Yeah, I think it does take it back then, doesn't it, to what you mentioned there, you know, by you burning out or burning the candle in regards to your career, and, not focusing on the other things that are in your life as well. When it actually gets put in front of your face, and, you actually can look at yourself in the mirror, in a sense, and see the actions that you're taking. Because if it's your wife or your mother or your father or somebody, comes to you and actually explains it to you, it's only them trying to allow you to prioritize yourself. And by you prioritizing your own health and your own mental state, then in turns allows you to prioritize them going forward. And I think, you know, looking out for each other, and, seeing the signs and continually learning about the aspects of burnout and mental health, it's only going to, allow you to be able to be the best you can be, not only at home but within your work life as well.
Yeah, look, you have to remember that the people closest to you are only looking out for your best intentions. And I suppose me, as a company or a business owner, I kind of have to monitor the, burnout with my staff as well, because they go for days, but not everyone is the same. Do you know what I mean? So what happens then is, if you burn out your staff, they become a bit disgruntled at, the working situation, or me maybe expecting too much of them. And then you get, obviously, an unhappy employee, which obviously is not a good thing within any company. And then obviously, if you have a couple of employees, and, the word gets around that we're doing mad hours, and, you know, what would you say? It's becoming a kind of a
A toxic workplace.
toxic work. They're thinking that they're expected to do the long hours and stuff. It can really bring the morale down within the company. So that's one thing you definitely don't want to do.
Yeah, and I think that leads perfectly onto talking about employees and, apprentices as well. I see a lot of chat online as well lately in regards to apprentices putting a lot of pressure on themselves
Hmm.
as well, in regards to exams. you know, and they're doing a lot of work on the job before they even get into college. And, you know, there's a lot of effort put in for them to be able to, you know, get up to the standard that the employer expects of them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they have this expectation nowadays that, you know, the exam end of it within the college phase is the be all and end all when it comes to results, you know. And I've seen a lot of results being published online recently through Instagram, where certain people have got merits, which is great to get a merit. And I know myself and yourself got merits, but they're coming out with disappointing remarks regarding the fact that they passed with a merit, that they wanted the distinction, you know, and they believe that anything below the distinction is a failure, which I think it's a lot of pressure to be putting on yourself when the industry itself is so pressurized anyway. I think that's something that definitely needs to be looked into.
Definitely. Well, look, the pass at the end of the day, like we discussed earlier on, back when we were, I suppose, graduating or passing out with the national craft card, it used to have a nice little etching on it which said merit. And at the time when we were finishing up, the big talk was going abroad and, you know, going to maybe Canada or Australia, and to have that little merit etched on your card was worth its weight in gold, because I suppose the foreign companies were basically looking at that card, and you had the merit. That was your straight into one of these companies. So, but not so much these days. Like, I suppose getting the pass and getting through it is enough. Obviously push yourself as hard as you can push yourself, but obviously in a healthy a healthy capacity. Don't be overdoing it. Like what we're saying with the burnout. It can actually hinder you in the end. You know what I mean? So when you're tired and you're, you know, I suppose nearly burnt out, you're gonna get worse results. So yeah, definitely pass.
Yeah, look, it's like one of these common misconceptions nowadays where, you know, distinctions or top marks is what defines a successful career, you know. And I think, you know, today, um, like what you mentioned there, you know, a pass being a pass is what truly matters, you know, like focusing on the bigger picture can be more beneficial for your career and your well-being. You know, if you can come out of your exam and, you know, get that, you know, pass result and take that weight off your shoulder, and then focus on, you know, what you need to be able to do physically on the job, like, is only gonna not only benefit yourself, like, but benefit your employer, like, in a sense where, you know, if you come out of your exam like and be fairly disappointed just because you didn't get a distinction, you're going to carry that around with you, and you're going to find it very hard, like, to lift that pressure off your shoulders and get back out onto site in a sense with, you know, the passion and, you know, drive that you would have went into college with.
Yeah, and look, the main goal at the end of the day when you're going in to do these exams is to ensure that you as an individual have the necessary knowledge and skills to perform the job safely and effectively, and, you know, without hiccups. It's not about doing the job, you know, to a pristine manner. It just has to be up to standard. And it's about verifying that you can understand the key concepts and can apply them in the real world situations or on site. While high scores can be gratifying, you know, getting them is great, but don't necessarily translate to being a better electrician on the job, like, you know.
Yeah, it's like what you said there, like, you know, just, you know, concentrate on, you know, understanding what your role is, and, you know, getting familiar with, you know, materials that you're using, and, you know, how to do the basics in a sense, like, aim to, you know, just understand the main concepts rather than, you know, solely like concentrating on the knowledge and, you know, the academic end. Like, all that will fall into place.
Yeah, no, 100%. And look, at the end of the day, you're getting out and you're a qualified electrician, no matter if it says distinction, merit, or pass. You're an electrician now, and going forward in your career, you have chances to upskill anyway. So whether it be taking courses on, solar, the renewables, access control, and like even into avenues down into electrical engineering. You know what I mean? You can literally go anywhere from a pass. It doesn't have to be a distinction.
Yeah, and you would only be too delighted if an employee came to you and said, "Look, I want to balance my work and my learning because I want to be able to better myself, learn a bit more, and hopefully learn something in regards that's going to make your business all the better for it." Like, so, being able to manage your time and like have an employee that can manage their time, or not overburdening themselves where they're working all hours of the day, and at the same time then that they're up till 12 o'clock every night revising stuff like for exams that in a sense you would love for them to be able to pass, like, because it's only gonna be a positive for your business. So for them to be able to come up to you and say, "Look, Keith, I'm in the middle of doing like an online CPD, or I'm doing like some night classes and something, and I really feel like it's gonna benefit not just me, but it'll benefit you and your business. Do you mind if I have like, the hour here or something like in the evenings to be able to go and do that and get into college a bit earlier?" You'd understand that.
Yeah, and look, nobody is expecting, a guy to come out of college or a girl to come out of college and be Einstein and know everything. Do you know what I mean? Like you said with the CPDs, like if they want to focus their learning on, something that's relevant to the job that they have, I think that's way more beneficial than, baiting the books out of it in, phase six, phase four, or whatever, and, burn themselves out and potentially, falling out of love with the trade because they're learning stuff that they don't even want to know. Do you know what I mean? Or it doesn't benefit that area of the electrical trade that they're doing. And like that goes across all the trades, you know what I mean? So like we keep harping on about, like get it past, get off the curriculum. You're going to be a qualified electrician now, and then you can choose your path after that. And if you feel like you need to hone in and really do the studying, then that's the thing to do.
Yeah, I think that's a great bit of advice, and I think like one of the main takeaways there is just, you know, and you've mentioned this a lot of times on the podcast as well, Keith, like about striving for excellence. It can be great, but not at the expense of your well-being.
No.
And passing your exams is an achievement in itself. So just remember that and concentrate on having a successful career. Yeah, look, I guess it's the perfect time now to lead into our guest interview segment with Suzy Blakeley, aka Princess Spark, and let's get into it.
The guest interview segment, now on Insight, the Stripped Back podcast.
Suzy, thanks for taking the time to jump on the podcast with myself and Keith. I was going to try and play it cool, but this is our second go at it now because we messed up the first one. Delighted to have you back on, keeping you late enough on a Thursday night, and I guess hopefully this time we'll get it right.
And it's a privilege having you on the podcast for a second time in the one night. So thanks for joining us, and thanks for taking the take two, I suppose.
No, it's all right. I don't mind doing it. It's what happens in the world of musical theatre and film industry. It happens.
Yeah, well, you're part of a small group now. So you and Tony Skilbeck have actually been able to be interviewed twice on the podcast. So I guess I know we might have heard it, but I guess our listeners haven't yet. So if you could introduce yourself a little bit to our listeners, tell them and us a little bit about yourself, your childhood, and maybe what your school experience was like.
So I'm Suzy, also known as Princess Spark. I live on Anglesey in North Wales, so I'm just across the sea from Stephen and Keith. And I was a bit of a drama queen, but a bit of a tomboy, not a massive girly girl, but just that little bit. I did enjoy school to an extent, but because I'm dyslexic, I really struggled with it. And at the time that I was in school, there wasn't really much help for dyslexics, but I got through it.
Yeah, and just leading on from finishing school, what inspired you to get into the trades and then specifically into the electrical trade?
So I didn't go straight into the electrical trade after school. I was working with my dad during the summer holidays, but I went off to do performing arts originally and doing the whole jazz hands, musical theatre sort of thing. And then I got a degree, and then I decided to go back and do my electrical qualification because it tied into what I wanted to do eventually.
Yeah, and just taking it back obviously a bit there to you mentioned in school, obviously you had the experience of going through school with dyslexia, and obviously you said there that there wasn't too many supports in place, but you could consider your father or and your family members to be one of those supports that would obviously be there for you. And would that have been a thing that would have stuck in your mind in regards a potential career choice, that because your father was in the trades, that and that he knew how to be able to see certain signs in regards to help that you might have needed, or being able to take an extra little bit of care in regards to giving you a little bit of extra time to maybe even maybe read up on things, or to be able to look at a drawing or something like that, that you knew that it would be cool for you to go into working with your father?
Oh, 100%. He was always happy to sort of go over things again because I wouldn't always get it first time. So it's like he would, if I was like looked at him in a certain way, he would right, okay, we'll do it this way. Or if I was wiring something up, he would draw me a diagram. Or if I'm going to the van, I get to the van and I forget what I've gone for. So I write myself a list of what I need before I go. Don't always do it, but it was one of the ways that we found helped.
Yeah, and how did you find in general working with your dad? Was it a good experience, or were you at loggerhead?
Oh, I love working with my dad. We do come at loggerheads sometimes. It just depends on the day. If we're having a bad day, we do come together a little bit. But other than that, we banter with each other. We take the mick out of each other. We have a laugh. It is good fun to work with him.
Yeah, I hope my son Callum's listening to this, because he came and did a bit of work with us. He's on his school holidays, so he did a bit of work with me during the week, and he didn't have a good experience. He went and told his mum that he hates working with me and that I'm too stressful. And if he's coming back into work with us, he wants to go with his big cousin Daniel. So I have to send him with Daniel next week. I got in trouble.
Oh dear.
Be joining the union next.
Yeah, Callum's in the union already.
I guess, like Keith mentioned there, obviously his son Callum's getting a bit of an experience coming in and seeing the stresses that are involved in a small business, where I wouldn't see the day-to-day stresses that would be behind the company that I work in, because we're a large facilities maintenance company. And I guess you coming in and working with your father and being hands-on on projects, would your father have influenced your choices in your career in regards to like the type of work ethic that you have, not just as an electrician but as a person?
Oh, 100%. He's always, I've always had a good work ethic compared to some of the other apprentices in my year. Like I won't take days off willy-nilly. If I'm ill, I will still try and come in. I have to be really, really poorly to not come in. But he loves my work ethic, and it is thanks to him. He has sort of shaped me the way I am. He's very particular and things like that. So yeah, he has in a way sort of shaped how I am when I work.
Yeah, and I know we touched on the dyslexia, but how, I suppose, has that impacted your career as an electrician, and getting through college and classwork and stuff like that? Has it impacted you much?
Yeah, it has. I struggled, really did struggle. I used to really be embarrassed by my dyslexia. I never really used to tell anyone. But when I went to university, I was sort of I found that I didn't have to be embarrassed by it and I could talk about it. So when I went back to college to do my apprenticeship, first thing I said is, I'm dyslexic, I need help. But the problem was I had to fight for the help. I wasn't just gone, there you go, there's the help you need. No, I had to really, really fight for it.
Yeah, and like talking about fighting for it, like I think certain people, I know myself, like I like to learn hands on. So I was always the type of person that if I was sitting in a room listening to an instructor talking, it would literally go in one ear and out the other. And I was always desperate to be able to get out into the workshop and be able to see the work being done. And as soon as I saw it, it would always stick with me. Would that be something that you would, be able to relate to, that once you see something being done once, you'll always remember it?
Yeah, definitely. I had to have certain ways when I was in the classroom. And once I got my head around it and had a practical vision of it, I was able to interpret it a lot better. But I am someone who learns better whilst they're doing things. I have to do it to learn it.
Yeah, no, that's a great bit of insight there. And look, I have two or possibly three apprentices that have dyslexia, and could you just go into again the little tips and tricks that you can use, I suppose, as a tool when I know you touched on it with the list and stuff like that, which I think is it's such a small thing, but it's very impactful on your day-to-day work.
So yeah, we have little ways of getting around on site. Like I'm not very good at remembering sizes. So like when it comes to the screws, I can't look at a screw and know it's that size. So we color code our screws so then I know that size is this color, which has been very, very helpful because he'll say, "Can you go and get this screw?" And I'm like, no, I don't know which one that is. But because we color coded it, I can go, that's that screw, if that makes any sense.
Okay, brilliant.
Makes complete sense to me. I think I might use that now as a little thing, because I'm constantly tipping over the buckets in the back of the van and having to spend a good hour putting them all back into the right order. So I think that's a nice little insight there for me.
I think you just do that to fill your day, Stephen, to be honest.
Yeah, well, that's the maintenance world. You know what I mean? I'm not as stressed out as you, Keith.
Can you put a job? Can you put a job sheet in 3 hours sorting screws?
And I guess those little tasks can make your day run a lot smoother.
Definitely.
But when it comes to the likes of, somebody handing you, maybe like a complex drawing, or, some sort of detailed list of what's required on a project, do you need to take an extra bit of time whilst looking at them in order to make sure that you get it right?
Oh, 100%. 100%. So we had it yesterday. I was looking in a book that didn't really make any sense to me whatsoever. And I had it on the table and I was just focused on reading what these instructions and trying to find the bit we required. But I eventually got there, and that's the great thing about Dad. He's patient with me when I'm reading. So when I'm going through it, I will find what the information that we require because I've got that extra time to read through.
Yeah, and do you find the electrical, I suppose, the industry and the colleges, do you think they're becoming more inclusive?
A little bit. They've still got a long, long way to go, but it is starting to slowly build up. The inclusivity, I think the courses need to be catered around maybe someone who has got dyslexia, because 90% of the time it is someone who's dyslexic or not very good at reading and things like that go into the trade. Not saying that everybody is, but a lot of the time they do struggle with like the academic side. So they are getting there slowly.
Yeah, I know. One of Keith's apprentices, Josh, he joined us on season 1, and he bravely wanted to come on and just share like his experience working within the industry with dyslexia, and just to give other apprentices the heads up that you don't have to have that sort of stigma around you in the sense of not being able to make it to the end of your apprenticeship. And he was highlighting over here in Ireland that if you were doing your pod work, then working in one of your bays, doing the wiring end of things, or working on your conduit, that if you were getting fairly up to speed with that and your lecturers can see that you're actually doing well in that sense of the training, that they would actually take you out and give you extra time in the classroom in regards to maths and the writing end of it. Does that happen in the UK?
So when I was at college, they didn't do that. If I'd finished all my bay work, then I probably would go and, me being me, I was studying all the time because of my dyslexia. I was always making sure that I was working on things when I had my breaks. But generally, they would encourage you to practice. They had extra work. This is just the college I went to, but they had MIMS or pyro cable wasn't actually part of the curriculum, but it was there. So if you'd finished what you needed to do, it was there for you to have a practice with.
Yeah, and how did you find exam situations and, being under pressure for time?
I hated it because when I went back to college, I hadn't done any exams since I'd left school. So that was a good few years. So I had 2 years in college and then 3 years in university. So that was 5 years of not doing any actual written exams. I did practical exams, just not written exams. So I really, really didn't like it. And like I was saying before, I had to fight for my support, like my extra time and things like that. And one of my exams, I didn't actually have my extra time. And I actually got a question, misread a question, 10-point question, and I lost 8 marks, which meant I failed the exam.
Yeah, and that balance that hangs over your head, like in regards to, one question, where if you're not reading it correctly, has, influenced your whole exam, like, which I think is crazy, isn't it? Because, you go into that exam like knowing that you've put in a lot of extra effort, and that you've actually openly let everybody know within the system that you do have dyslexia and there is learning difficulties. But in a sense, if the correct supports were in place, or there was the time allotments in regards to students such as yourself, like, were forwarded to you, you would have a little bit less pressure, I think, on you to be able to actually have to read those questions so fast and then in turn make those mistakes. So I guess like the whole time aspect of things is really, really important, like when it comes to exam time for people such as yourself, Suzy.
Oh, 100%. It was always in my head. Oh my God, I've got to get this done. I've got a time limit. I've got to get it done. Got to get it done. Got to get it done. So it was like when I had, even though it was 25% extra time, that's all I got. But it just put me at that ease. Even if I didn't use it, it put me at ease that I didn't have to rush reading all the questions.
Yeah, definitely. And what that does is, as well, it kind of reflects real life as well. Because, most jobs you do, you're not under such a severe time constraint. And most people and most clients will prefer if you took longer and got the job done right, rather than trying to rush it, read through an instruction manual and then to get it wrong. So I think that probably is something they need to have a look at in terms of people with dyslexia as well. So that time, like Stephen said, is the key there, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Every single exam, apart from my AM2, I failed. My AM2, I actually passed first time, but all the others, I failed at least once before I actually passed it properly. So it's like Yeah.
And I guess, I would have been one for, failing my driving test the first time. Um, didn't really let it knock me for six in a way, but it sort of, gave me the determination to go back in and get it done right. And I was just wondering, like, how important do you think it is to have that, mental strength to be able to fail an exam, not, feel you're not good enough for the industry in a sense, and be able to take a step back and say, right, I know I'm good enough to complete this. I'm going to go back in and I'm going to get this pass result, and I'm going to get out and do the career that I want to do.
Yeah, you do have to be quite headstrong. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't. I really struggled. Whenever I failed, I got really upset about it. I used to have to go and find my workplace assessor and sit with her for a few minutes and just see where I'd gone wrong in that exam. But it was also when, like, she came out on site, I would be fine working with Dad, going over what I needed to do, what I needed to show her. And then when it came to her actually being there assessing me, I just lost it. I had a massive meltdown, and I actually had to redo 4 observations that she came out to look at because I just lost it when she was there under the pressure.
Yeah, and I guess when you eventually got your pass results, it's like a validation in a sense, like to everybody to say, right, well, the hard work and effort that you put in now has finally paid off. And would that have been something that you would have felt when you got your result, or were you able to enjoy it? Like a lot of people just like get the results and it's like a weight off their shoulders, and then other people get the results and they're able to really appreciate it. Were you able to appreciate your results once you got them?
Once I got a pass, it was weight off my shoulders, and I could really appreciate the work that I had put in to get that result.
Yeah, brilliant. And now back out onto site. I always seem to be the one to ask this question, but what has your experience been like as a female in the male-dominated industry?
Well, where do I start? I've had mixed. There are some people that have all positive, some people will have negative. Me, I'm completely mixed. I have the positive side where I go to the house and they're like, oh, it's lovely to see a female electrician. It's so nice to have a girl here where it's so many men. But then I have the other side where there are still people who are asked if I am there to make the sandwiches or there to make the tea. But it's not just the customers. It's other sparks in the area. I was in a wholesalers, and this one electrician goes, oh, I need to get a girl now. We're like, well, why do you need to get a girl? That's a very odd thing to say. He was like, well, you've got a girl. I'm like, so doesn't matter. Or how much is he paying you? I'll pay you more. And I was like, no, thank you. I'll stick with my dad, thank you. Very weird. But if I do get comments about being a girl, I just show off when I'm in the wholesalers. Like usually it's when we're buying SWA cable. So I pick it up, put it on my shoulder and walk out.
Yeah, fair
Brilliant.
play to you. And I guess having the likes of yourself, Susie, and we've had Kimmy on the podcast, and there's other trailblazers as well across Ireland and the UK who are out there showing that really a male targeted trade anymore. You know what I mean? It's open to everybody, and you can watch videos like what you put up, and everybody else like from a female background is putting up, and you're saying to yourself, right, what is stopping schools in the UK right now from promoting these trades to females? Because I feel like there's definitely a disconnect there from people leaving school and actually promoting trades to girls at the minute. And I was just wondering, in your opinion, like what do you think could be done to promote that better?
What I found with schools, I know my old high school did it last year, but I haven't seen them do it this year. Was have like a women in construction week, I think it was. But it would be nice when they have like the school fairs where they've got the different careers come in, where they have both genders there, sort of thing. So if they have got a construction, that they get like a female plumber in or a female electrician in. I would love to go into schools. I have so many schools say to me, "Oh yeah, we'll get you in, and it never happens. I have got everything ready to go into schools to talk about being a female electrician. It just doesn't come about. So having multiple genders within the school, promoting the trades, it would be really, really, really good to have that.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And I suppose, have you seen any changes in the industry since you've started that makes it more appealing to people for, women to go into the trades?
I think a little bit, yes. I think with the use of social media, that is, a great asset to it. And the fact that they are now bringing out more workwear suitable for women as well, because I know when I first started working with Dad, I was wearing men's trousers, men's shoes, and they just didn't fit me right. And now I have got women's boots, I've got women's trousers, I'm even a test pilot for women's workwear. And, it's getting there slowly but surely.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of things that people might overlook when it comes to
Definitely.
it. It's the workwear, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
I think even the likes of, when it comes to, like t-shirts, and I seen even Kimmy there, I think she was doing a bit of a promotion at the installer show, like all different types of workwear that, women can wear out on site. And I think it does have to be highlighted, the fact that like we are built differently, like in regards to body shapes and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
that's a great thing to bring up, Susie. And just taking it back to what you even said there about the promotions at school level as well. I know that we had Shauna Murphy on one of the episodes there recently, like, and she's an award-winning chef, and she highlighted that she came through like school like with learning difficulties as well, and she got put on the map then by winning one of the culinary awards. And what they do in her local area is because it's such a small catchment area, that anybody from the catchment area that's sort of done well for themselves in careers and stuff like that, that they make sure that they bring them back in for workshops. So they do something similar to what you said there, Susie, like open days where they brought her in and they done it. She was able to do a master class for the kids on the day, like to give them a bit of a look into, what a female can do within the culinary industry. And she mentioned, even if it was to, spark an interest in one or two of the children that day, well, then it's a success,
Yeah.
And I think doing something similar like that. I know my son is in a creche in Balbriggan here in Dublin, and they gave the opportunity to anybody to put little videos together to show what you do in your working day. And I like made a little video, of an RCBO, and the colors going in and the colors going out, like, and trying to explain to 5-year-olds how it works, like,
And counting
and
screws.
yeah, but like it's little things like that, where you might think it's just going in one ear or out the other, or you might not, but still to this day, like a year later, there's kids that come up to me, like when I'm picking up my son from creche, like, and still mention the video, and they ask about the tools that I use. Can they see my side cutters, or can they see the pliers? Like, because I was calling the pliers a crocodile, and it's just
Love
little
it.
things like that. It's great. And I just think that that's a perfect way from, day dot in school right up to when, kids are leaving, that if they actually get, people in to show people hands-on what is out there for them, it's only beneficial.
Yeah, you don't do it enough.
No, definitely.
Right, Susie. So we're going to jump into the musical theatre. So tell us what role that plays in your life.
Oh, musical theatre is a massive role in my life. It is my life, pretty much. Like I said at the beginning, I'm a drama queen. I always will be a drama queen. But I started when I was 9 years old in a pantomime group. My first panto was Sleeping Beauty. I was a little fairy. And then in 2003, I was 9.5, turning 10. And I did my first ever musical, and that was The King and I. And that's where my performing bug sparked. And I performed right up until I went to university in 2012. And then I went on to the technical side. But I've always loved performing. I'm still doing performing now. I haven't got as much confidence as I did back then, but that's for personal reasons. But I absolutely love musical theatre. When I go to the theatre, I just get lost in the show. It's my little getaway. I get taken away from all everyday life, and I just get lost in the music.
Yeah, that's great. And I think to be able to, challenge yourself in that way as well, not trying to, talk too much about the dyslexia, and we don't want to really define you in a sense, but you know, I've seen my daughter is actually in a drama group and they had their first show there recently and it was Cinderella, and I seen all the work that she was doing in the background. She's 10 this year and she's putting in all the work at home and, learning her spots on stage and learning where she's supposed to stand or where she's supposed to come in and sing and her lines and stuff like that. And I just think you don't realize apart from speaking and making sure you get your lines right, everything else that goes with it. So I just think it's great, Suzy, to have somebody like yourself, where people might restrict themselves in what they can do, not just in their careers but in their personal life, where you coming out onto this podcast and promoting that no matter what type of learning difficulties that are out there, or people might feel that that type of hobby is not for them or career is not for them. It's great to be able to show that it's not just restricted to people out there that I would not call saying don't have learning. Everybody has some sort of learning difficulty, I believe, or some sort of, especially in the trade industry. I definitely believe that we're a different breed of people. That there's definitely some sort of platform that we're all on in regards to maybe ADD or OCD or ADHD. So I think you explaining there about just falling in love with something like that in the background, it's great to hear. So fair play to you.
Oh, thank you. It's just a great outlet to have.
Yeah, and how do you find, getting that work-life balance correct? Or does dad, can you get an extra hour off from dad if you need to go do something with the musical theatre?
Yes, it is quite flexible like that. But generally, work is the daytime, musical theatre is the nighttime. So I've got that good balance. But Dad's my co-pilot with the musical theatre stuff, because I'm the technical director for the musical theatre group, and he's like my second in command. And then he's the technical director for the panto group, and I'm his second in command. So we work together wherever we are, really.
Well, it sounds like you just have a lovely relationship, and it's nothing to be taken lightly either.
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah, and it doesn't. It's not a bad thing to have a couple of electricians on the crew, like when there's a power outage or a lighting outage or something like that to keep the show going.
Oh yeah, we had it in the last show, but we're not going to go there.
Yeah, and I guess just in you've had obviously those achievements of putting stage shows together and putting yourself out there on stage, but in regards to personal career achievements, would you consider the awards that you've got in the electrical trade, such as the EFIX 30 under 30 award, and I think you also got the Design and Build Women in Construction Award as well in 2022. Would you consider them to be one of the proudest achievements in your career?
Oh, definitely. It is definitely up there. I was absolutely shocked when I won both awards, to be honest. With the EFIX award, I had COVID when I found out that I'd won, and I was absolutely over the moon because I'd been so upset that I was stuck in this one room with COVID. when I saw my name come up on the screen, I was so excited.
Yeah, no, brilliant. And I suppose no better woman to kind of give advice to anyone else that was looking to get into the trades. For a woman, would you have any, snippets or any, hidden gems that you'd like to share with anyone that's looking to get into the trades?
Yeah, don't let people put you down. You could do what you want. You can be who you want. You can carry that drill. You can carry that cable. You can do it if you put your mind to it.
Yeah, that's great. And I just think, having this platform out there and hearing a voice like yours to be able to give anybody a little bit of a leg up coming into the industry is great to have. And I guess, how do you see your future within the industry going? Do you have any aspirations to go out on your own, or is it something like regards to working with your father, where you see you just fully taking over the reins at some stage and just running the business?
I'm a bit on the fence at the moment. I'm not sure what I want to do. I am quite happy where I am at the moment. So yeah, I'm not really 100% sure where I'm going, but yeah, I'm still happy just being with Dad at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And I suppose talking to yourself and how prominent you are on social media, how do you find social media impacts the trades at the moment?
I've seen both sides of it. So you've got the really positive side. You've got everybody supportive. It's helping others. You help each other out. But then I've also seen the negative side, where you've got the keyboard warriors. I've actually come off TikTok. My account's still there, but I don't actually post anything anymore because I was getting some really, really nasty comments, and it was really, really upsetting me. You do have to have a really, really tough skin to be on TikTok, to be honest. But it was the comments they were making were more towards Dad, and I wasn't doing that. Whereas if I'm on Instagram, everybody loves Dad. If I put a video up and Dad's in it, it goes mental. I have no idea why. I've got one video where me and Dad are doing a challenge, and everyone's loved it. And it's like got 3,000 views, and I'm like, where's that come from?
Yeah, I think it's all well and good, like I had somebody recently say something similar to me about, if you have thick enough skin, um, you can nearly troll these trolls back, like, and it's all engagement on your page at the end of the day. So, just keep feeding into them and just keep letting them putting traffic through your page. But I think when it gets personal like that, it's a different story, you know what I mean? And I know a lot of people, and I know yourself, Keith, you've changed settings on TikTok for a lot of stuff where you've turned commenting off because, you get fairly annoyed with some people just
Yeah,
poking at you.
yeah. My problem with it is I think of it in terms of myself. Like even if I seen something that wasn't quite right, maybe like you know, a DM to that person, like behind closed doors, just to give them a bit of advice. I think that'd be more beneficial instead of, trying to bring somebody down in front of everybody. You know what I mean? And like that person has been brave enough to put up their stuff, and I presume will be quite proud of what they've put up. Like we've seen a couple of jobs, and on the TikToks and Instagram, and like we said, like Jesus, that was a great effort, but like he could probably do a little bit better here. And we've contacted them in the background, like, and they're happy to get that bit of criticism. But yeah, but dragging people down, I just don't understand it because I suppose I'd never do it. So that's what really kind of grinds me gears on that one.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, we'd had a quite something similar to that, like with the podcast, like where you get into the podcast game and you're in a new type of arena now, like where there's obviously other podcasts out there and everybody's watching what everybody else is doing, and it was brought to our attention there recently, like somebody not really mentioning our name, but trying to drag us down on their stories through Instagram, like, and it is very hard not to bite, and actually give these people what they're looking for at the end of the day is, a full blown public argument, like, which can really take off on social media, especially within the electrical game. So I know myself and Keith, like, we've just, took a breath, stepped back from it, and just said, look,
we're not in it for that, like,
we're not in it for that. We just want to spread the positivity around. So I think, like what you said there, Suzy, it's social media can be a double-edged sword, and it's just making sure that when you're on the wrong side of that sword, that you have, the option to be able to step away from it and come back when needed, because there's no harm in that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I've done it a couple of times. I've taken a step back from social media for a little bit, and then I've come back refreshed and ready to start afresh.
Yeah, no, that's definitely the way to do it. There's no point in reacting and making it into something that it's not really. And look, you mentioned Instagram and that being your main platform. Where do our listeners go to try and find you if they haven't found you already?
You can find me if you put in Princess Spark Anglesey 19.
Brilliant. And I'll stick that in the show notes. And just before we leave the social media end of it, we did throw up a story saying that we were going to have you on, and if anybody wanted to provide any listeners' questions or follower questions. And I had one in there from Richard Cockerline. I know he's a good friend
Good old
of
Richard.
Yeah, he's a good friend of the podcast, and I know that he's a good friend of yours as well, Suzy. And one of the questions that he put in was, how do you find collaborating on social media in regards to working with, if it's either manufacturers or other Sparkies, I guess?
I do enjoy it. I don't do my social media purposely for collaborating. I do a bit of everything. But I've worked with some companies who are great. I've got another one coming up, which is really, really good. But I've got some that are really, really strict and changed their mind on a few things and been really picky with some of the stuff that I was going to put up. But I really enjoyed it. I've worked with our lovely Robus. They have really, really helped me out with a couple of charity jobs. We did Rainbow Tea Rooms in Chester with them. They helped us out with all the strict lights and the down lights. So they sort of donated all the lights, and then I paid them back by putting loads of videos up. I did a vlog that's on YouTube, and just loads of little videos and stuff of all the lights and stuff that they helped us out with.
Yeah, and talking about charity work and stuff like that, you reached out this morning letting us know that you're doing something very important for your local area, and that's you're looking to put together a raffle, a tool raffle, in order to try and raise some funds to put some defibrillators in, I believe, in your local area. And I know I tried to reach around to a few of the manufacturers that we'd have connections with online, and I know CK came back this morning and they were saying they'd be only happy to get in touch with you. But if you'd like to give our listeners a bit more information about the importance of why you're doing that and what people can do to hopefully support it.
Yeah, so basically me and Dad have got a defib fund called Benchef Defibs, which is the village that we live in, where we look after the defibs, we maintain them, and we try to get extra ones in areas that would benefit a defib, because the village we're in is it's a predominantly elderly area, but it could happen to anyone. So we, want to ensure that we've got defibs handy and they're all in working order. We went and changed some pads and batteries in one yesterday in the next village along. And when Nick went online, I call him Nick, by the way, it's just a habit from work, went online to reorder pads and batteries from the NHS because we used to be able to get them. They are now not supplying free ones, so we're having to pay for them. Now, we have got a fund which was raising money for an extra defib at the one end of the village. But that fund is now having to go on the pads and batteries maintenance, because pads and batteries together works out to be about £100, if not a bit more. And we've got 3 defibs that are going to need replacement batteries and pads fairly soon. So, that's £300 straight out the pocket. So what we're doing is we're going to get together a bundle. We've got some tools. Some manufacturers have offered us merchandise, which is brilliant. And we're going to run a raffle to raise funds to see if we can still keep the fund high, so we can get the extra defib but still maintain the other defibs in the village as well.
Brilliant. I think that's a great initiative.
Oh, great initiative, and a well needed one as well. Definitely.
Yes.
Life-saving equipment.
Yeah, and I know that we'll do what we can for you, Suzy, in regards to promotion once you have it up and running. So we'll definitely keep an eye out for that. Fair play to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
No problem at all. And just to end on a lighthearted Instagram question that came in, the question was, what is Suzy's favourite musical?
Oh, that has got to be from Richard again.
Oh.
The man who will not be named.
No, I can't pick. Oh my God. See, I've got 2 that are my top favourite at the minute. Well, 3 actually, because I've just seen another one that is up there. So I can't pick one to be the actual top, but the 3 that are up there in the top are Frozen the musical, which is absolutely incrediable. Six the musical, which is, if you don't know it, it's about Henry VIII's 6 wives, but with a sort of a rocky girl pop sort of edge to it. It's absolutely amazing. And then there's Blood Brothers as well, which has been a favourite of mine for many years.
So it's Frozen then, I guess.
We can most relate to Frozen.
You see, I didn't like Frozen when it came out as a film because I found it was overhyped. But the stage show is just amazing.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I guess we don't let any of our guests escape an interview without asking the most difficult question of all, and that's to add one song onto the season 3 Spotify playlist. And with your musical and theatre background, I'm really interested to find out what your song choice would be, Suzy.
Well, it was a difficult one. I was messaging Richard with multiple options, and I went with this one. And now this is from a musical called Come From Away, and it's a real life story about the planes that all landed in Newfoundland when the 9/11 terror attacks happened in America. They were all grounded, and they were all helping. All the people in Newfoundland was helping all these planes. Now, this was a tiny little island in Canada. And in it is a character called Beverly Bass. Now, Beverly Bass was the first captain of the American Airlines. And she sings a song called Me in the Sky. Now, this song I can relate to so much. She's talking about being wanting to be a pilot, and how she went through these different stages, how she was an engineer, and how the flight attendants didn't really get on with her, thinking that, she was better than them. The pilots were a typical go get me a drink love sort of people. And so I can really relate to this song being a female electrician. It's just such a beautiful, beautiful song. And I thought it was really appropriate to put in your playlist.
Can't wait to hear that one.
Brilliant, yeah. It's always great to hear the story behind a song choice as well. Some people come on and they might just pick the last song that they might have heard in the car on the way up to the interview, or something that's just been stuck in their head from maybe a playlist that they've just been listening to on Spotify or whatever. But to be able to hear that little bit of history there is great, and I think we could probably nearly do a whole episode on that story.
Yeah, it'd be nice not to listen to the
Probably.
pots and pans for an episode, wouldn't it?
Yeah, brilliant. And look, Suzy, Gonna be delighted to put that on the playlist. Can't wait to have a listen to it once the episode comes out. And I know myself and Keith have been looking forward to this interview happening for a long time now since we announced it, and we really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for inviting me on. I was like, do I, don't I? But Richard said, no, you've got to do it. So I'm so glad I did get to come on.
Yeah, thanks a million, Suzy. Absolute pleasure talking to you.
We'll have to slip Richard that 20 now next week in the brown envelope.
I think you owe him a t-shirt now as well and everything.
Look, Suzy, I wish you the best, and I know Keith wishes you the best for the rest of 2024 and the rest of your electrical and musical theatre career. And now we're going to play you out to your song choice. Take it easy.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Suzy.
Suddenly the wheels lift off, the ground is falling backwards. I am suddenly alive. Suddenly I'm in the cockpit. Suddenly everything's changed. Suddenly I'm not too young or too short, and the passengers in the back don't complain. Suddenly I'm flying company charters. Suddenly everything's high. Suddenly there's nothing in between me and the sky.
Right, Keith, that's just about it for Season 3, Episode 6.
Yeah, highly enjoyable. Thanks again to Suzy Blakeley for joining us on this episode. Also, a big shout out to our sponsors, Robust Lighting.
Yeah, and if you liked what you heard, come back next time for more overload chat and guest interviews, and head over to wherever you get your podcast. Give us a like and a follow to be notified when the next one drops. Take it easy, everyone.
Talk to you on the next one.